Chapter 5 Barriers Along the Shattered Sky.
Despite speaking to the citizens of the forest city, Rachel still felt that the crows were not moved by her encouragement. Because of this, she ventured deeper into the forest, keeping a close watch on them as she continued investigating their plans. Eventually, the crows gathered at their usual meeting place above the crook trees.
I know they're up to no good.
Rachel whispered as she hid among the dried bushes, quietly listening to their conversations. Not long after, the crows landed. Veronica immediately began the gathering. However, this time their meeting was no longer about their usual plans.
I came before all of you with the spirit of our clan to commence what we truly desire, to conquer and to avenge. That little bunny thinks that compassion is power.
She chuckled.
Oh, please. Many of our ancestors died because of compassion, more than for anything truly worth fighting for. And for what? Because of humans like the little brat that Bunny has been with? Today, with our true power, our magic, we will return the favor of destruction that those humans once brought upon us. Everything beyond these highlands will be ours. On this very day, their sickening festival, we shall launch a grueling strike.
Veronica urged the crows as they let out their crook cries. Rachel, hiding below, was terrified.
I have to warn Mayumi.
She whispered urgently.
They're in grave danger.
Without wasting time, Rachel immediately hopped toward the Baguio City to warn Mayumi about the impending attack. It was the day of the Panagbenga Festival and a citywide float-making contest. Downtown Baguio was filled with vibrant colors and lively music. Various floats had arrived and were ready to enter the competition. In line was Mayumi's team, carefully and proudly parading their float after all the challenges they have encountered.
Just look at our float. Isn't it gorgeous and outstanding?
Natasha said proudly, pointing at it. Mira added,
Just look at the flower selection and the arrangements, the dimensions, and overall design. It's already a team win, everyone.
And it is truly a team win because we did it together, guys.
Mayumi said.
After this parade, we can surely nail the presentation.
Everyone on the team walked alongside their float with their heads high, proud of the exceptional job they had done. The people around them were deeply amazed at how alive the streets seemed. The team now presented their float for judging.
My dears, you've done so well, and I'm always proud of you regardless of how this competition goes. Remember what you practiced, and more than that, remember the valuable moments you shared while preparing for this big day.
Teacher Ophelia said, offering her uplifting remarks as the team prepared to present their float.
Alright, guys, hit it!
Natasha said as she played the festival music she had prepared. Their entry immediately captured the spectators' attention.
Welcome, honorable guests, to the most colorful and blooming festival in the country, the Panagbenga Festival. Presenting to you our float dressed in flamboyance but woven with compassion.
Leonor continued with the presentation he had prepared, while the rest of the team coordinated with the floats showcased. Through the team's combined efforts and their diverse intelligences, everything from their design and assembly to the presentation come together successfully. Their teamwork had truly paid off.
Come on! She must be at the festival!
Despite gasping for air, Rachel pushed herself forward trying to reach Mayumi as quickly as possible. Amidst the cheerful and lively crowd, Rachel struggled to find Mayumi. The tall statue of the humans, the overwhelming music, and the flowers endlessly raining from balconies made it even harder for Rachel to alert her. Rachel could not help but say to herself,
Where is she? With this crowd, the noise, and everything, it's impossible.
Rachel pushed through the crowd to the point that she almost got stepped on. In a blink of an eye, she was suddenly kicked to the side with an uncontrollable movement of people deeply immersed in the festival. Rachel was exhausted, but she finally found Mayumi.
Mayumi! These people in the festival will surely be in deep trouble. Veronica's meeting ended long ago. Your flock must be heading here right now. I think they are planning the attack.
Rachel panically told Mayumi. Then suddenly, the sky darkened with a sound of flapping wings. The crows had arrived! People froze in fear as the black flock circled above. But instead of attacking, the crows released showers of petals from their talons. Flowers drifted gently down, blending almost perfectly with the festival celebration. The crowd began to laugh nervously. Some even clapped, assuming it was part of the performance. But Rachel remained uneasy. Mayumi, trying to steady her friend, instead that perhaps Rachel was simply overwhelmed. Maybe the crows only wanted to prove they could coexist. Mayumi tried to reassure her.
Rachel, remember what we discussed? Veronica said, compassion is weakness, but we know that magic without compassion leads to destruction.
Rachel replied,
I know, but the repeated defiance still feels like a trap. I fear they won't listen to the reflection this time.
Mayumi answered.
We agree that reflection can break the chain, just like my team needed to learn to listen. The crows may needed to learn as well. Maybe this is their way of showing unity.
But before Rachel could respond, a deafening explosion-like sound tore through the air. Above the city, a massive dome of swirling, colored light began to form, a glowing barrier stretching across the sky. It was the barrier of the forest city, now visible to the human eye. Screams erupted. The joyful music dissolved into panic. People ran in every direction, holding tightly to their loved ones. The once celebratory streets of Baguio quickly transformed into chaos. Rachel realized that while unity was stronger than pride, the crow's magic had now made the barrier visible to the human world, forcing a confrontation between the two realities. Mayumi stood frozen, her heart pounding as the joyful celebration of the Panagbenga Festival in Baguio dissolved into panic. Rachel, beside her, stared upward in shock as sirens wailed in the distance. In the aftermath, Mayumi and her friends found shelter in a safe corner of the city. The air was heavy with smoke and fear, and the street echoed with the cries of those searching for their loved ones. It was in this moment of chaos that Carlos received something devastating news. His family had been injured in the stampede that followed the panic. The weight of guilt pressed against his chest, heavier than fear itself. Carlos' anguish was not only for his family, but also for the truth he now carried. Mayumi hesitantly spoke up and revealed something to the group.
There is something I must tell you. The forest city exists. It is not from a story or a dream. It is real. Rachel and I have been there, and it is where the crows gather.
Her words hung heavily in the room. The others stared at her in disbelief and shock. Their eyes widened.
Forest City? You mean it's an actual place with talking animals?
Tammy asked. Felipe shook his head.
This sounds impossible. Why didn't you tell us before?
Because I feared you would not believe me. But now, with the crows interfering, even here, you must know the truth. Their gatherings are not harmless. They seem like a rebellion, and then...
Mayumi stopped, her voice trembling. The group turned toward Carlos, who sat rigid, his face pale. Carlos slowly rose, his hands clenched, The weight of guilt pressed down on him, and he could no longer remain silent.
I actually have something to confess.
Carlos said quietly.
I met Veronica, the girl leader. I let myself be drawn into her plans. I thought if I distracted Mayumi, I could prove myself. I wanted revenge for being ignored, for feeling small. I didn't see what it would cause.
The rooms erupted in shock.
You betrayed us! You worked with them?
Mayumi shouted angrily. Mira slammed her fist on the table.
Do you realize what you've done? Families were hurt at the festival. People suffered.
Mayumi's anger flared, sharper than any blade. She raised her voice.
You've endangered everything. You let pride blind you, Carlos. You betrayed not only me, but all of us. Do you understand what your choices mean?
Carlos' eyes filled with tears.
I do. My family was caught in this stampede. They were injured because of the chaos I helped create. I carry that guilt every moment, and I am sorry, Mayumi. I am sorry to all of you.
But Mayumi's fury was not easily calmed. Mayumi lashed out at Carlos.
Sorry does not erase betrayal. Sorry does not heal the wounds of those who suffer. You chose pride over trust, and now we all pay the price.
Her words cut deep, and Carlos bowed his head. His apology hung in the air, heavy but insufficient. The group sat in silence, the weight of Carlos' confession pressing down on them. The float, once a symbol of unity, now seemed fragile against the betrayal that had fractured the trust. Nicole softly added,
If the forest city is real, then this is bigger than us. The crows are not just trouble, they are a threat. And Carlos' choices prove how easily pride can be manipulated. We cannot ignore this.
Tammy added. This confession was more than betrayal. It was a revelation of how learning sometimes comes through painful experience. Carlos' realization reflected the principle that growth often emerges from real-life consequences. His guilt was not abstract. It was lived, embodied, and irreversible. Mayumi's anger burned fiercely when she heard the truth. Betrayal cut deeper than the chaos around them. She trusted Carlos, despite his stubbornness and pride. But now, his choices had endangered not only her, but the entire community. Rachel, though shaken, remained steady. She understood that Carlos' admission was not simply a confession of guilt, but a moment of transformation. He had learned through suffering and the harsh consequences of his action. Yet Rachel also knew that the damage had been done. The festival lay in ruins, families were broken, and trust had been shattered. His alliance with Veronica revealed how easily ambition could be manipulated. The repeated gatherings of the crows had reinforced their defiance until it spilled into violence. The crows had long been notorious for rebellion. Their nightly meetings beneath ancient trees had strengthened their resolve, each gathering reinforcing their pride and resentment. Veronica, their leader, was cunning and persuasive. She understood the power of repetition, gathering her flowers until their defiance became second nature. Carlos had been vulnerable to her influence. His frustration with Mayumi, his desire to prove himself, and his anger at being dismissed by his peers made him suspectable. Veronica offered him recognition, a role in her plans, and the illusion of strength. He accepted, not realizing that his choice would lead to devastation. The crow's strategy was not simply magical, but psychological. They exploited pride, repeated resentment, and nurtured division. Their gatherings were exercises in reinforcement, shaping behavior through repetition until rebellion became instinct. In the aftermath of the festival, Mayumi had to make a choice. She could remain in Baguio, tending to the wounded and helping rebuild what had been lost, or she could confront the source of the chaos. Mayumi reflected to herself.
This betrayal has cut me deeply, but it has also ignited my determination. I need to return to the forest city with Rachel and find the solution.
Her decision was bold, driven by anger and conviction. She knew that the problem was larger than Carla's betrayal or Veronica's hatred. It was rooted in the patterns of pride and resentment that had been taken hold of the crows, in a division that had weakened her own team. The forest city was not only a place of beauty, but also a place of conflict. The crows' gathering had grown stronger, and their influence extended beyond the forest. To confront them would require more than courage. It would require wisdom, reflection, and the ability to create an environment where trust could flourish. Carlos remained in torment. His family's suffering was a direct consequence of his choices, and his betrayal had destroyed the trust of his peers. He embodied the painful truth that learning often comes through experience, through mistakes that cannot be undone. His guilt was a form of knowledge, but it offered no comfort. He had become a cautionary figure, a reminder of how pride and resentment could lead to destruction. The forest city awaited Mayumi's return, but the conflict remained unresolved. The crows continued their gatherings, their pride reinforced through repetition. Veronica's influence grew, and her plans extended beyond the festival.
The animals of the forest city lived in fear, uncertain of what rebellion might come next.